We are back here on Bills by the Numbers, where we let the stats tell you where the Bills are at. We're presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Coming your way as training camp gets going, is this a stronger roster than that of last season, and why? What position group has the biggest questions to answer? Steve will be quizzed on roster-shaping history, and we'll have our one burning question. Someone get me my dorm room key. Glad you're here with us on Bills by the Numbers. Bills Wall of Famer Steve Tasker, Bills play-by-play man Chris Brown here with you, and we begin with an assessment of Buffalo's roster as training camp gets underway at St. John Fisher. Is the Bills' 2025 camp roster better overall than the one they fielded last season, Steve? And if so, tell me why.
I believe it is better. Offensively, no question. Another year under the belt of Khalil Shakir, another year under the belt of Keon Coleman, more proven options at wide receiver with the free agent signings. Their offensive line continues to be deep and talented, and it seems to be even better and healthier, obviously, at this point with no season going on. Defensively, there's more potential up front with the new signings with Bosa, if they can keep him healthy, of course. The draft picks, the 3 draft picks on the defensive side of the ball, all on the front 7. And, of course, Maxwell Harrison, who is an elite athlete, you can kind of plug him into the cornerback 2 spot. The return of Tre'Davious White, another year under the belt, and more athletic in the back end at safety. Cole Bishop coming back with some experience. You go down the list of the top 22 guys that are going to be on the field, and even probably the top 30 guys that are going to be on the field in any given capacity for the Bills. Yeah, I think they're much more proven. Their pedigree's better. Their experience is obviously more with another year for some of the younger guys. And because of the way they exceeded expectations, given the preseason expectations last year, these guys really fill you up with a lot of potential. You know, you really feel like they're going to be able to swing for the fence this year.
I would agree. I think it's a more talented roster by a sizable margin. And the reason I say that is because of the position groups they addressed, which you outlined. You know, I believe Joshua Palmer and Elijah Moore are upgrades over Amari Cooper, who was added midseason, based on what he gave you, and Mac Hollins, who was a nice role player, but was never going to be more than a role player. And then everything else on offense is largely the same. You could argue that Jackson Hawes, although we haven't seen much of him yet, is a bigger, stronger, and probably more versatile third tight end than who they had previously. Quentin Morris.
Quentin Morris, yeah.
So that's encouraging. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think they are significantly more talented. To Steve's point, a lot of it is potential right now because there was a concerted youth movement on that side of the ball over the last 2 years in the draft. And while you can't count on any of that potential just yet, the talent alone, T.J. Sanders, Deion Walker, Landon Jackson, Maxwell Hairston, the talent alone gives you the possibility of being significantly better not only up front, but on the back end as well, especially if Cole Bishop wins the starting safety job over Damar Hamlin to pair him with Taylor Rapp. So you look at those things and compare it to last year, where largely the depth of Buffalo's defensive line was filled with spare parts. People like Austin Johnson, for example, a journeyman veteran player. Right. Now you're using middle-round draft choices with a lot of upside instead. And I think there is more to be gained there. Maybe not right away in the first 6 or 7 games, but you get to the back half of the schedule when bodies are hanging. Young bodies feel a lot better. Young bodies bounce back from bumps and bruises and getting nicked up better. I just think come the second half of the season, this defense, if it's developed properly, and this is a coaching staff that knows how to develop players, they could really kind of make some hay in the second half of the season. There will admittedly be a lot of new pieces, even when the roster is reduced to 53 players on August 26th. Which position group, Steve, do you believe has the biggest questions to answer?
Well, to me, at this point, there's so many more challenges, I think, on the defensive line than any place else. I was wavering on this, but the D-line is the one with the question marks because you've got two guys that are going to be suspended for 6 games, and you've got a draft pick that's in Landon Jackson that now is injured and on the active PUP list. You've got 2 young guys coming up in the middle. Dwayne Carter is another one. T.J. Sanders, who is yet to sign. Deion Walker. You've got some questions up there about how that's all going to fit together, who's going to play well with each other. Now, certainly the guys you mentioned, the draft picks in Jackson and in particular Deion Walker, they've got an enormous upside. They're toolsy. They're gifted. But at this level, it's about what's above the neck as much as it is what's below the neck. So I think the D-line is where the most challenges are because there's so much to sift through there with the 2 suspensions of Ogunjobi and Hoyt. There's a lot in that. And I think that's where the most question, not because there's a lack of talent or because you don't have enough guys. You got some pro-level guys, no question. But I just don't know what it's going to happen and how it's going to fit. The rotation that they like to use is a jumble.
I get that. The D-line made my list, but it was not – and they have questions. I just feel there's one other group that has more. And the reason why I didn't pick the D-line here is because you can at least definitively say and know I can line up Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, and A.J. Epinesa and know what I have.
Sure.
You can't do that in the secondary right now.
That's correct.
And for me, it's the secondary. Yes, you know what Hamlin is. I don't know if he's an ideal 17 games a season starter. I think he's a great spot starter. I think he gets the most out of what his skill set offers him at the NFL level. But it's clear that in an ideal world, Bishop is the more athletic and higher upside option at safety if he can master the responsibilities of the position and get the coaching staff to trust him implicitly. Does that happen? We don't know. That's a question right there. Max Hairston already has the smoothest hip flip of any cornerback on this roster. Steve and I saw it in spring practice. It's like butter. The kid's head doesn't even pop up an inch. It's remarkable, his athletic skill set. But is he going to be able to master all his responsibilities and play effectively enough, not only in coverage, but in the run support that is demanded of corners in this system to get on the field and play? That's why Kyer Elam could not get on the field. He really struggled with the run support elements demanded of the outside corners in this defensive system and had trouble getting on the field because of it, and now he's in Dallas. So that's another question there, because do you have to go to a default option like Tre'Davious White instead? Another question. Who is your sub-package player? Is it going to be a third safety? Is it going to be a third linebacker? Do you want to find a way to get Dorian Williams on the field, or is it going to be a third safety like a Cam Lewis or somebody else, or even a Jordan Hancock?
Yeah, or Derek Forrest is in the fold.
Derek Forrest. So that's another question in terms of how the sub-package roles are going to shake out. So to me, the questions in the secondary, I think they outnumber every other position group that we've got on this roster right now. What players, Steve, do you believe needs to emerge and become a significant contributor in 2025?
It would really solve a ton of problems for this team if Joey Bosa came in and played well. It would solve a ton of – he's an elite pass rusher when he's healthy. There's no question about it. He's a load. But obviously, and the reason he's available, the reason Bill signed him to a one-year deal, the guy's injury-prone. As we've seen already, he's got a sore calf. But if Joey Bosa stays healthy for 17 or 18 weeks, or the entirety of the season, his ability to rush the passer will be exactly what the Bills wanted to get and had with Vaughn early in his tenure in Buffalo. They got a guy who's a problem and closes out games. And not only closes out games, but can close them out early in the third quarter, right? I mean, you don't ever get to these games where you're coming down the wire. It's a one-score game. You got to get a da-da-da-da. With a guy like Bosa, it never gets to that. It's a two-score game for the entirety of the last 2.5 quarters. That's the guy, I think, that can make the biggest difference on this team. The Bills do not have anybody on this roster except Bosa, who's been flashes of it, who is an elite pass rusher. They don't have it. They got to send extra pressure, or they can fool somebody. If Bosa does that, I think that is the biggest. It will make exponential difference for the rest of the entire defense. The DBs will play better. Max Harrison will play better. Christian Benford will play better. The safeties will play better. Everybody's better if the quarterback doesn't have 2.5 seconds, if he's only got 2.1. Everything changes.
Yeah.
So Joey Bosa is the one I think could really be the difference maker for this club.
I'm looking at defensive line as well, and I don't mean to put too much on a rookie, but for my money, a guy that needs to emerge and become a significant contributor, if not right away, hopefully by midseason and down the back half of the schedule, is T.J. Sanders, the second-round draft choice. Ed Oliver was drafted 9th overall. He had a big year in 2023 with 9.5 sacks. It's been hit and miss in every other year in terms of getting week-to-week consistency out of him. And I think the Bills are at a point in time where if that inconsistency continues this year and one young player like a T.J. Sanders can provide the kind of production they're looking for, series in and series out, from that position, it's going to cost Ed Oliver playing time. And I want T.J. Sanders to push Ed Oliver this year. And I think if he does, he'll be on the field and Ed will not, at least not as much.
Right.
So I guess selfishly, I'm counting on T.J. Sanders to bring out the best in Ed Oliver, but if he does, that means T.J. Sanders is making a difference on the football field.
Right.
And look, there may be times in certain pass rush packages where they're on the field together, but I want to see T.J. Sanders come in and establish himself early to kind of be a wake-up call for Ed. Like, you're not getting handed this thing. I mean, is he probably going to be the starter week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes, right? But
Yeah.
I want to see T.J. Sanders come on as a rookie. Guy was a 41st pick in the draft. He has a unique skill set for a man his size. I want to see him emerge as a contributor to the point where Ed Oliver's looking over his shoulder.
I'll say this, and we've alluded to this, and people are smart enough to know this as well. We've spent 3 or 4 years saying this about the Bills' defensive line. You know, if we can get Von Miller in here, he'll bring out the best in Ed Oliver. He'll help A.J. Epinesa or Greg Rousseau. The same thing when we need Daquan Jones, because Daquan really takes the pressure off Ed Oliver. And if you're spending all your conversation effort on your defensive line into bringing somebody in to help somebody else, you don't have that guy. It's that simple. If you've got that guy, he don't need no help. He don't need this guy to get a double team. You double team me if you want to stop. Let's go. And obviously, I come from a different frame of reference. I played with the best defensive end in the history of the game in Bruce Smith. He didn't need somebody. Now, it helped when he got him. Yes, it did. But he didn't need it. He was getting 13 sacks with a bunch of guys with a 2-14 roster. I mean, he was dominant. If you've got a handful of guys who say, well, if we bring one more guy in, that'll help this guy. We ain't got time for that. You ain't got time for that.
Well, I think based on the attention to the defensive line in the draft class that the Bills made this spring, I think it serves as notice to everybody on that defensive line. if you're not bringing it, we've got other people to do it instead.
And
so
I'll say this too.
Shape up or you know what.
I don't think they do this here in Buffalo, and I'm not advocating it, but some of the strategies you've seen other teams use is, listen, you trade somebody who you thought was an absolute lock, or you cut. It used to be a thing when I was young in the league decades ago. There was always a surprise release at the end of training camp, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that guy. And I said, well, he wasn't playing well, and it's like it was a wake up call for the entire roster. Like, hey, you're not safe. You've got to play. I don't think that flies like it did back in that day, but that message, if you have a way to get that message across to your veteran players who you're waiting on to emerge or to blossom, or you need to light a fire on them, they're one of those kind of guys, you got to find a way to send that message. Having 3 draft picks in the front on the defensive line
in rounds 2, 3,
in
and
rounds
4.
2, 3, and 4, yeah, that does it. Now, what happens in the reps and the rotation, and when they start to get placed ahead of a guy who is sitting in his recliner, so to speak, that may be what's in order here in this training
It's a
camp.
production-based business, and if you are a veteran in this league and you forgot that, you're going to be reminded of it right quick. Finally, who is a player that you believe could surprise people and open some eyes in this training camp as a more viable contributor than maybe some believe?
I think it might be Deion Walker. I think he's so gifted and he's got that size, and I think the way he plays is very unusual for a guy his size. He plays slippery for a guy who weighs 350 pounds. He plays with some finesse and some technique for a guy like that. Now, certainly he was hampered last year by a back injury, and they'll manage that. But I don't think that, I really don't believe his back is going to be an issue this year. Now, I could be completely off base, but he's going to come in and if he comes in, and certainly at the start of training camp, he's going to be healthy. I think he could be a guy who, because of his physical traits and the way he plays, he could thrive in what goes on here at One Bills Drive. I think they handle players like Deion Walker extremely well. And I think he'll come in and he'll blossom here. He's got a chance to, and that's my call.
Okay. I'm going with the guy that was taken right after him in the draft, the tight end, Jackson Hawes. This is a guy who I think already is penciled in as the team's 3rd tight end. He's more of a traditional Y tight end. He's a bigger, stronger, more versatile player than Quinton Morris. And I think, as you say all the time, guys that play a long time in this league are either enormous, they're mutant-type players, or they're really smart.
Right.
And Jackson Hawes is a Yale grad and then finished up at Georgia Tech, which is not an easy school to get into either.
And he ain't small.
He's and he's not small. He's 6'4", 250, and he was deemed the best blocking tight end in the class. And look, is his role going to be huge? No, he's got Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox in front of him. But I think as far as 3rd tight ends go, it wouldn't surprise me if we get to midseason or a little bit later, and this offensive staff likes him enough to start using 13 personnel, among other things. We saw Kansas City use it with pretty good success last year when they lose Rashee Rice to a season-ending injury. They don't have Hollywood Brown for most of the season, and Andy Reid goes, we're going 3 tight ends. Let's just make it happen. And they did, and they did it with pretty good success. You had Kelsey, you had Noah Gray, Peyton Hendershot, and they were more than just a functional offense. Like, they used 13 personnel to their advantage, and look, they were still AFC champs, so it's not a bad team to copy. And if you got a guy that's capable of helping you in that vein, I think Hawes might be able to do it because he's certainly intelligent enough. I think he can win the trust of the coaching staff. Is it going to be a gigantic role? No. We're talking about something that might be comparable to the way we saw Alec Anderson used last year. But he's going to factor into the passing game, I think, more than people realize.
I think so, too. There's only 5 guys in the room for tight ends. And if you go 3 tight ends, I mean, he's going to get reps because of the nature of the game. And at the current moment, tight ends are a big part of every team's alignment, personnel groups. So he's going to get a chance to show what he's got. And I think even casual fans who come out to training camp are going to see the guy on the field more than you're going to see a guy like, some of the other rookies, like Deion Walker. There's like 9,000 guys on the defensive line, right? There's 5 tight ends. So we'll see.
Time now for the numbers game, where Steve will be quizzed on Bills roster shaping history. So, Steve, question number 1. What Bills first-round pick since the AFL-NFL merger, so we're going from 1970 to the present day, what Bills first-round pick played the fewest games for Buffalo? You should know this. At least I think you should know.
Aaron Maben.
It's not Aaron Maben, who did not play a lot of games, but there's somebody that played fewer.
Really? Did they trade the guy?
No, did not trade him.
Sammy Watkins.
It is not Sammy Watkins.
He played 2.
Yeah, he played 3 seasons.
Yeah. Let me see. First round draft.
Do you want a hint? I can give you the year.
Steph Gilmore.
It's not Stephon Gilmore.
It's which year?
1979.
What? Oh, it's the tight end. The tight end.
You're there.
Well, I can't remember.
You're
his
there.
Name. I can't remember.
Yes,
his name.
you can.
No, I can't. What was his name? I can't remember.
Tom Cousineau,
Oh my gosh.
who elected to
Cousineau,
play for the
that's right.
CFL's Montreal
No, he was a
Alouettes.
linebacker. He was a linebacker.
Or linebacker,
Yeah,
sorry.
He was a linebacker. He wasn't a tight end.
Linebacker Tom
I forgot
Cousineau.
Cousineau. Man, wow.
Yeah. Decided not to play for the Bills and went to play in the CFL. Can you imagine a player doing that today? No way, Jose. Linebacker Tom Cousineau. Question number 2. Prior to Brandon Codrington, who was the last player the Bills acquired via trade, not during draft weekend?
Oh, by a trade.
So last year, they acquire Brandon Codrington right
Right.
before the season. They acquire Amari Cooper midseason. Who was the last player acquired prior to those two, not during draft weekend?
I will say. Oh man, the only way I'm going all the way back to. That's too far. It's too far back. I'm thinking about the deals they made right before the start of the 2017 season.
Oh, don't go back that far.
Yeah, it's not that far. I don't know. I can't remember.
Rasul Douglas.
Oh, that's right. I should have gotten that.
Mid-season
That's 2
trade
years
in
ago.
2023.
That was dumb.
Question 3. In the last 2 drafts, the Bills have selected a total of 3 picks from the University of Kentucky. Ray Davis, Max Hairston, Deion Walker.
Okay.
When was the last time the Bills selected 3 players from the same school in back-to-back drafts?
Like 6 guys overall?
No, at least 3.
At least 3.
In back-to-back drafts from the same school.
I will say last year, or you want
You know
the
what I'm
name?
going to do? I'm going to make it easier for you. Give me the school you think it is that they...
Notre Dame,
It is not Notre Dame.
Georgia,
It is not Georgia. That's not a
Penn
bad
State.
guess. It is not Penn State.
I'm going to say, is it the U?
It is not the U, but you're warm.
I'm going to, oh, no, that ain't, no, don't do it. North Carolina.
It is University of Florida. In the 2022 and 23 drafts, the Bills selected Kyer Elam, Justin Shorter, and Osiris Torrance.
Oh, man.
So in those back-to-back drafts, 3 players out of the University
Wow,
of
that's tough.
Florida.
We should, yeah, go ahead.
Question 4. Which Bills 2024 rookie appeared in the most games for the Bills last season? Appeared in the most games.
Bishop.
It is not Cole Bishop.
Really?
Remember, he got hurt in training camp, and
Let's say rookie.
yes.
Last year.
And there are two possible answers because these
Keon
two players.
got hurt. He didn't
Keon
play.
got hurt. He is not the answer here. I'll just tell you, two players played in all 17 games for the Bills last year who were rookies.
I'll say Javon Solomon.
Not Javon
Oh,
Solomon.
I thought I had my guy.
He was inactive for a few.
Eddie Ulofoshio.
No. Eddie only played in 4 games.
Andreessen.
No, played in 13 games. Not the
Golly.
most. We're running out of rookies.
We are. Codrington. Is he a
Brandon
rookie?
Codrington is one. Played in all 17 games. Want to try to go for the second one?
Yeah, Ray.
Ray Davis. Correct, Steve. Took a minute, but you got there.
Let me just tell you. So Brownie sent me the script for the pod, and he sent me
You're
the
gonna blow me
he
in.
sent me the answers to the questions. So I was going to nail it, but I said, hey, I know he sent me the wrong script, the one
I
that
did.
he uses.
I sent him the
so
questions.
he changed all the questions, and I had no shot.
That's right.
He was mad at me or himself.
Well, I wasn't mad. I was
he
more
was
mad at
himself,
myself, yeah.
and he took it out on me.
Maybe. A little bit. So that's the numbers game. Bills fans, get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the app today to play any way you want. Plus, with live betting, you'll get updated odds on games that have already started. Best of all, you get paid your winnings fast. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Buffalo Bills. Time now for our one burning question. Which position group, Steve, do you believe could undergo the most turnover from last season to this season when the final roster is set in late August?
Well, it's the secondary. I think it's safety position has a chance, but I also think it's corner. So the DBs.
Yeah, that's fine. You want to say
the
secondary, I'll listen to that.
I think you could have a new starting corner and 2 new safeties.
I think even the depth
And
at
the depth,
corner
the
could
whole
be
roster.
different. Dorian Strong, I think, has a good chance to make the 53-man roster, even as a sixth-round draft
I think
choice.
Hancock will make the shot. the
Hancock.
roster. I think he's too good. He's too versatile a player not to make it. And so I think you're right. I think Rapp's going to be on the field, no question. Bishop, I think they hope he can get on the field. With Tre'Davious White in the room, along with Max Hairston. I mean, you got one of those guys is going to be the last guy standing, and and the next guy will be the third guy in. That's all new.
Yeah, and I would say the only other position group that is going to match that, maybe even exceed it, is the defensive line, just because you have so many new faces already on the roster. So even when you reduce the roster to 53, compared to last year, you're still going to have a ton of new faces because the only holdovers on the D-line from last year.
Ed, Daquan,
Epinesa, and Rousseau.
Yeah.
And Javon Solomon. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody else is new. So
Right.
just
Well,
by virtue of the fact that you got so many new
Dwayne
faces.
Carter was
Oh,
here,
and
but he
Dwayne
was
Carter, too.
yeah,
Sorry.
So you'll have, if Sanders comes in and gets signed, you have Sanders, Deion Walker, Zion Loge, Dwayne Carter,
Yeah. Zion Logue was on the practice squad.
Daquan, and Ed. Those guys were in the building. Carter and Loge and Oliver and those guys. But yeah, you're gonna have a ton more guys, particularly down inside, and then Landon Jackson and
And Bosa.
and Bosa.
And Hoyt and Ogunjobi. Like, holy crow. There's going to be a lot of new faces there. Our closing figure deals with former undrafted players that make the Bills' 53-man roster. Last year, 9 players who were undrafted as rookies made Buffalo's active roster. But Joe Andreessen was the only undrafted rookie last summer to make the squad. You had guys that were former undrafted rookies that made the roster
Right.
for a total of 9 players. So others like Alec Anderson, Ryan Vandermark, they were undrafted a few years ago. This summer, there are 12 undrafted rookies on Buffalo's roster. Going to be interesting to see. Is the number 9 again, or is it less?
I don't know. We'll see. I think some of those guys are good enough to hang around the practice squad. we'll see what happens, particularly at the linebacker spot.
It's a tough roster to make, man.
It's a tough roster to make. Although, 7 guys is just kind of like all they got on the inside, got off the ball guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we talk
I don't think
all
so. I'm just going to say no.
Yeah,
There's
we
not going to be
talk-
9 undrafteds.
Yeah, we talk all the time about how the Bills largely just play with 2 linebackers because they play nickel so much. I wonder if we see a shift there. Because
There might
Dorian
be,
Williams
yeah.
is becoming the caliber of player where, you hear coaches say all the time, we got to get our best 11 on the field. Dorian Williams is
He's
going to
pushing
push that
that.
envelope
Yeah.
to where the defensive staff may have to try to find creative ways to get Dorian Williams on the field more often.
The problem is, and as obvious, is you got to sit somebody down. That's
Right.
where the push comes to shove. He may be a better linebacker than one of the defensive linemen standing in front of him, but he can't get into that spot.
Or is he better than a third safety?
Right.
As a coverage player, it's tough to say that.
Yeah,
but if
then
he's
you're
made
talking
some
about-
strides in that area of his game, he
But
might
you're-
earn some consideration.
But you're also talking about, third safety. You're talking about personnel groupings. You're talking
Yeah.
about situational football.
Sub-package
and
stuff.
certainly he's a part of that conversation. But if the Bills start looking at teams who are like the Baltimore Ravens, for instance,
Week 1.
who go heavy, and they're gonna bear up, and they go, you can put your nickel on the field, and we're gonna push them around with our quarter package, with our 13 personnel.
Yeah.
And we're just going to push you down the field.
Might see Dorian Williams a
You
lot
might
in week
see
1.
Dorian Williams come out and play a lot in week 1, something like that in a matchup. And the league, the pendulum of the league, we saw the Bills do it last year, 50-50. It went from 60-40 or 63-37 down to 50-50 run pass.
Yeah, Bills were 51% run last year.
And that's not just the Bill. Most teams will try and do that. Now the Bills have a larger margin of error because of the person they have taking snaps at quarterback. But other teams will see that. And as defenses got lighter and lighter, offenses are going to go back to being heavier and heavier. We'll see if it plays out that way.
That's it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use so you know when our next episode is out. Because when you need to know about the Bills, you need to check Bills by the Numbers. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time, everybody.